Welcome to the Village of Woodbury Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Ed DeJesus. I'm the acting chairman for this evening. Can you please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Little housekeeping items before we start. Our next scheduled meeting is currently scheduled for Wednesday, July 10th. My pleasure to introduce the members of the board. To my extreme left is Ms. Beverly Silva. Next to her is Michael Wozniak. Next to him, somewhat, is Ms. Rachel Bruce. Like I said, I'm Ed DeJesus. And next to me is Counsel Kelly Norton. This evening, there was no executive session. Therefore, can I have immediate motion to accept the minutes as written?
So moved.
Motion by Rachel Bruce, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass. There's no new business. We have action on decisions. First one, Chipotle signage. Review of the draft decision requesting an area variance for the construction of 2 wall signs from the Village Code, Chapter 310, Attachment 11, relative to the number of signs permitted in the 1B district. Said property is located in the 1B zoning district along Loki Lane in Central Valley and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 225, Block 1, Lot 34.1. After several pages of facts and findings, as the consequence of the board's discussions, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested area variance described and discussed above. To the extent noted above, conditioned upon the signs not exceeding the maximum permitted under the code, being identical in all aspects, sign, design, etc., and being installed in a location shown on the architectural site plan which Chipotle prepared by Woodbury National, submitted to the building department on March 19, 2024, and further conditioned on the applicant containing all required planning board and architectural review board approvals and required permit from the building department. The board hereby finds that the variance as granted is the minimum variance necessary to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood. As per section A316-9 of Village Code, this decision shall expire if the building permit is not obtained by the applicant within 180 days from the date of this decision. Should the approval require an approval from the Village of Woodbury Planning Board, the 180 days expiration window shall run from the date of the final planning board approval. The board may extend this time for one additional period of 90 days. Such extension is warranted by particular circumstances. With that said, can I have a second and a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Beverly, second by Rachel. Any discussion?
Nope.
Beverly, how you vote?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I vote aye. Surpassed. Moving right along. Next one is 54 Heather Ridge. Review of draft decision requesting a temporary special permit for the use of a portion of the existing dwelling as a dwelling unit for additional family members. Said property is located in a R-1A zoning district at 54 Heather Ridge in Highland Mills and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 251, Block 1, Lot 19. After several pages of facts and findings, as the consensus of the board's discussion, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested area variance described and discussed above to the extent noted above, conditioned on the applicant receiving all necessary permits from the building department and there being no exterior alterations to the existing dwelling except for the addition of a door by the garage, and hereby finds that the variance as granted is the minimum variance necessary to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood. Additionally, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the applicant's request for a temporary special permit for an additional dwelling unit for the use of family members pursuant to Village Code Section 310-35 as stated and described herein, subject to the following conditions. The additional unit may only be used for up to 2 additional persons directly related to the owners of the principal dwelling unit. In the event that the property is either sold or the additional unit is vacated, the permit will become null and void. The property shall be restored to original single-family status, and permanent cooking facilities, i.e. stove, shall be removed. The applicant, property owner, shall provide to the Zoning Board of Appeals names of all persons who intend to occupy the additional unit. Homeowner and intended occupants shall sign a special permit upon approval of the ZBA, and all facilities are subject to annual inspection by the building department. Per Section A 316-9, Section E of the Village Code, this decision shall expire if the building permit is not obtained by the applicant within 180 days from the date of this decision or the date of the final approval by the planning board, if such an approval is required. The board may extend this time for one additional period of 90 days if such extension is warranted by particular circumstances. Can I have a motion to second to approve?
I just have a quick question, if that's okay. I just wanted to know, and this might be more of a question for council, that we did receive correspondence from the Brigantine Homeowners Association, and again, this is not anyway personal towards the applicant, I'm just raising it, that they weren't notified and they object to the permit. Is there any sort of procedural thing that we have to do because of that, because of the status of the Homeowners Association? Or
No,
are we,
sorry, keep
oh,
going.
sorry. Or are we permitted to move forward?
You're permitted to move forward. The notices did go out in accordance with your code. If the HOA did not receive a proper notice, then they are not a property owner within the certain distance that's required by your code. If they have additional regulations that need to be followed as well, for example, if the HOA also needs to issue approval for certain improvements in the development that is subsequent to any approval this board gives. So you are allowed to take action this evening. They may object, but they must not own property within, I think it's 300 feet? 300 feet from the property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to second to approve?
I'll motion it.
Michael?
Second?
Motion by Michael, second by Beverly. Beverly, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Pass. Next up, 50 Heather Ridge. Review of draft decision requesting 2 variances for the construction of a 400 square foot addition and a new deck onto an existing single-family dwelling. Whereas pursuant to Section 310-7, the minimum lot area is 43,560 square feet, and the applicant has 34,463 square feet, and the minimum side yard setback is 30 feet, and the applicant is proposing 21 1/4 feet. Said property is located in the R1-A zoning district at 50 Heather Ridge in Highland Mills, and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax map as Section 251, Block 1, Lot 17. After several facts and findings, as the consequences of the board's discussions, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested variances described and discussed above to the extent noted above, condition upon the following. 1, the applicant shall install a non-glaring windows in the addition. 2, the new walls of the addition shall match the walls of the existing dwelling. 3, the addition shall only be used for personal use of the homeowners. and should not be used as a shawl or for any other purposes. And 4, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the building department. The board hereby grants the variance as granted. The board hereby finds, the variance are granted are the minimum variance necessary to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood. Per section A 316-9 subsection E of the Village Code, this decision shall expire if the building permit is not obtained by the applicant within 180 days from the date of this decision, or the final date approval by the planning board if such approval is required. The board may extend this time for one additional period of 90 days if such extension is warranted by particular circumstances. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Beverly,
I'll second.
seconded by Michael. Any discussion?
No.
Beverly?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
I also vote aye.
Rachel, I thought you were recused on this one.
No, not from this one.
Not this one? Okay.
No.
My mistake.
Yeah, Chris, that was a,
Sorry.
that's okay, thanks.
Motion said passed. That ends our actions on decisions. Now we open up the public hearing, The first one is Woodbury Townhouses. Is the applicant present?
They're not going to be present. They haven't completed seeker yet, so they are supposed to be requesting a 60-day adjournment to your August 14th meeting.
Can I have a motion to postpone until August 14th?
Motion.
Motion by Mike, second by Beverly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion made. Next, legal seafood. Continuation of public hearing, requesting a variance for the construction conversion of an existing structure to residential apartments. Whereas pursuant to section 310-6 subsection F and section 310-7, the proposed conversion requires 22,000 square feet of lot area, whereas 21,209 feet are provided, and said property is located in the HB zoning district along Valley Avenue in Central Valley and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as section 230, block 6, lot 2. The applicant is here.
Yes, David Nimatko with the architectural firm working on the project. The last meeting before the zoning board, we were referred back to the planning board for them to complete seeker. We did so at the last meeting, so now we referred back to you with a clear slate so that you could vote on this variance request. As was stated, we're requesting a lot area variance of approximately 791 square feet, which equals 3.5% variance from between the 22,000 square foot required lot area and the 21,209 square feet of lot area that we have or that exists already. The purpose of this is to create 2 apartments on the second floor as opposed to 1. Each apartment meets the code, meets the area requirements needed within that apartment, and we believe it's a minor variance, a minor request.
Any questions from the board?
One question. Why do we need 2 apartments as opposed to the 1? Oh, sorry. Nope. I'm just curious, in a situation like this, why we need this second apartment.
We have 2,000 square feet on the second floor. It's a large apartment. So to create 2 would be 2 1,000 square foot apartments, which would make it more reasonable in its rent, more attractive to people within the area to use, and hopefully that's what we want to attract, keep people within Woodbury, to retain as much population as we can. So 2,000 square foot apartment might be a sizable rent. 2 1,000 square foot is more marketable.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I am seeing this 2 apartments versus 1 in that area. It's, I understand it's not a very spacious in terms of streets and parking and even the population, right? This is the one that's about the tracks, the train tracks?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about 700 square feet and splitting it up, so there's more bodies in that area, more traffic, more cars, teenagers, a teenager family could have 2 cars, 3 cars. How does that fit into the scheme of that plan?
Actually, we meet the parking requirements for the retail space on the first floor and the parking requirements per the zoning code for 2 apartments. So we satisfied, in fact, I think we exceeded what's required by the zoning code. No, we meet it. We're proposing 14 parking spaces, and that will suffice for both apartments and the retail space. And the planning board has reviewed that. We're working through some design considerations, but I believe we'll satisfy those requirements.
Okay, I believe at the last meeting that you were here, concerns were brought up about sewage system, water.
Well, I think concerns were brought up about cleaning up the site, which the owner has done so. And also, just to remind you, the ultimate product will be a lot nicer than what it is now. We provided renderings to show the restoration of the building. I believe one of the comments was to make some kind of homage to the historicity of that area. We did so with the brackets and with design elements that would reflect a train station kind of feel. And we've addressed sewage and water with the planning board. They have technical review. So right now, it's just the area variance that's before you.
I have no more questions. Whatever other questions is beyond the scope of this board.
She has no more questions. is what she
Oh,
said.
sorry, I had a hard time hearing for a second. I just had a quick question regarding, you mentioned that, that your team is currently looking into redesigning and reconfiguring the parking space situation. Will that in any way, is there any potential that will affect the proposed structure itself in terms of its size, or?
No.
No chance whatsoever?
No, we're not adding to the footprint of the building.
Okay, or taking away from
Or
it either?
taking away from the footprint.
Okay.
The footprint remains,
All
but
right.
the design will look beautiful.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, sorry, I'm just looking at. In terms of, just an additional question that I had actually. So I'm just having a little bit of a hard time reading the plan. So would the 2 apartments be on the first floor, or would you be building 2-story, like 2 consecutive stories in this case? Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time reading the plan. I just want to
No,
make sure.
It's not a problem at all. The full first floor will remain retail.
Okay.
The 2 apartments are on the second floor. They're accessed from one side of the building, stairs going up to the second floor. There's a common hallway that accesses one apartment immediately and the second one at the end of the hallway.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. The reason I bring this up is just because the train station is on an elevated platform, and how that would affect nearby structures with, already it's 1 story as it is, and it's pretty high up, but if you add additional stories to that, just want to take into consideration how that may affect nearby buildings and residences in that regard,
We're
so.
not, okay. Not a problem.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to open up a public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Rachel, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have anybody from the public who wish to speak about this? Going once? Going twice? Since no public comments are required, Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
By Beverly, second by Mike. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, sir. We'll discuss it later and get back to you.
Thank you.
Last item of our agenda is 50 Greenwich Avenue. Public hearing requested a variance for the construction of a parking area in the front of a single-family dwelling. Whereas pursuant to Section 310-7, the maximum permitted impervious surface coverage is 20%, and the applicant is proposing 44.2%. Said property is located in the R-1A zoning district at 50 Greenwich Avenue in Central Valley, and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 248, Block 1, Lot 44. Is the applicant present? Sir, can you please step up and let us know your name?
Name is Guillermo Concepcion. I'm the property owner.
And please describe your project and what you're looking to do.
The project, what we applied to do is to be able to add, our front yard is actually swampy. So what we're proposing to do is to remove the grass area that's in the front of the yard and add approximately 1,000 square feet of pavers. The additional pavers that are at the premises are actually just replacing current asphalt that's already there. So we're not requesting to do anything major. The area is not going to be considered a parking area. It's more to alleviate some of the water that accumulates in the front yard, because even when it's weeks without rain, we still get very muddy areas in the front. And what we actually hired an engineer to draw up the plans, which we provided to the board, that actually shows how the water will be retained, that is not going to affect any of our neighbors in the area.
Is your backyard also paved? And to what extent?
It's just the pool area. That's why, we didn't have the overall permit previously to what we thought previously that was already there was not. So when we had the surveyors come by, we actually had them draw up the entire coverage so that everything is listed the way that it should be. Because the new surveys did not show the areas that we already had applied for and were granted permission to do. And we just drew everything up, including the backyard that was already done. There's nothing new in the back. It's just what we want to do is just the front, just to alleviate, again, some of that water that we're getting. And it's actually going to benefit our neighbors as well, because with the way that the engineer drew it up, it's including seepage tanks where it would actually retain the water and actually slowly, leak it through the municipal areas as well. So it's actually going to benefit our neighbors pretty much.
Any other questions from the board before I continue?
I'll let you continue. I'm good for now.
None for me.
Do you happen to know how much of the backyard is, percentage-wise, the backyard is paved?
Other than what was drawn up by the surveyor and the engineers, it's all there. I don't know exactly, but I would think that it would be probably maybe 15% overall. Again, if I had to guess, but I'm not an expert, so I can't attest to that. But everything is set on the plans. It includes all the area that's paved. Again, there's nothing new on there as far as the backyard or anything. The only thing, the addition is all in the front, where we want to do, again, the 1,000 square feet in addition to what we had before. And again, the area is not for a parking area. It's more for an alleviation of the water accumulation in the front, because we already have a 3-car garage and we only have 2 cars. So I believe it's inappropriate to actually call it a parking area overall, because it's just some paved area. There is green area in the front as well. So the landscape is actually nice. It's just that we don't have all that, that water that we normally have. We could actually enjoy the front yard as well.
Yeah.
You said it's not used for a parking area, but when I drove by the other day, there was 2 cars parked in that section.
Well, that's just for convenience. Those are our vehicles, my wife and mine. It's not going to be for, again, convenience, meaning that if my wife goes to the grocery store and she needs to get something unloaded right away, our kitchen's upstairs, so she can go through the front door, and later on in the night, then she can park a car in the garage.
Got it. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, so, I mean,
Yeah, good.
sorry, do you want to go first?
One, is there no other way of achieving this swampiness of the front yard?
I mean, that's the best that we can think of, because then we eliminate the water completely. Again, the engineers drew up a way that the actual water that would normally be accumulated in the front would actually be contained, I would say, in seepage tanks. So there would be seepage tanks in the area where all the water, even from the neighbors, it would accumulate directly into the seepage tank, which will eventually, go. But I mean, at least it alleviates the issue as far as having water accumulation or actually affecting any neighbors nearby or anywhere in our area. So it's not going to affect in any way anyone in the area.
Actually, Beverly took the words right out of my mouth. That was my question. Whether there were no other, no, by all means, I'm happy that one of us asked it. So just to follow up, so there were no other prescribed methods that the engineer suggested this was the primary
Yes.
means?
I mean, that was the best way to do it, because again, we would have to dig everything up as well and actually include some of those seepage tanks to actually let the water go. But as long as we're gonna have to take it out anyway, so why bring back the dirt instead of making a nice area that actually looks attractive to look at?
Yeah, and this would all be paving, so almost similar to like an outdoor patio type of.
I mean, it's just regular pavers. I mean, again, it's just for the front, and if when Mr. De Jesus went by, I mean, he would see that there's still some green area there, so it's not as if we're going to create any problems for any of our neighbors. Actually, the neighbors kind of like it. We've gotten quite a few compliments on it. So.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I mean, it is a pretty significant increase, pretty much double the required impervious or maximum impervious surface area. But
No, I understand. That's
Yeah.
That's why the engineer drew it up with seepage tanks, so that the water that would normally dissipate in the area would actually be able to be accumulated in the seepage tanks, so that there's no one affected by the additional water.
of course, I understand. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions by the board?
No, not me.
Before I open up the public hearing, I just want to make, since you're asking for a variance, area variance, it's not just the front yard, we have to take into account for the backyard. So we need actual measurements, how much of the backyard is paved.
Is that not included in the plans?
I'm not seeing it,
There's some, sorry. No.
my guess.
There's some listing in terms of square footage under the bulk requirement table, but it's not actually clear which of those include all of these. So, like, for example, rear patio and pool, there's a pool, there's a rear patio, there's a patio, I'm gonna guess that's an outdoor fire pit? I'm not sure. Or
Yes, there
a
should be
cul-de-sac,
one out
maybe?
there.
And then another section of paver, so it's not really clear which square footage here applies to which square footage on the plan. So I think he just needs, to be a little bit clearer in his identification of which areas correspond to the square footage that he's listed.
Understood.
So, but can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Rachel, seconded by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Any members of the public wish to speak about this? once, going twice. Before I closed it, we did receive a letter this afternoon from a neighbor requesting to be read for the record, so I will do that. It's addressed to our chairman, Mr. Brady, and it says, "My wife and I, Dr. I'm not going to pronounce the name, so I'm going to butcher it. All who reside at 44 Greenwich Avenue, Central Valley, New York, received a notice pertaining to a company called 50 Greenwich Avenue LLC that has applied for a variance of 50 Greenwich Avenue, Central Valley, New York. This notice arrived by mail on June 8, 2024. While I thank your office for notifying the neighbors after personally visiting the village building department as well as the village assessor's office today, my conclusion is that I and my wife must oppose the granting of this variance to 50 Greenwich Avenue LLC. There is not sufficient time nor information available for concerned neighbors. I have lived at 44 Greenwich since August of 2001 to support the issuance of such variance. I see that a forum is offered today at 7:30. Unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I will not be able to attend this meeting. My wife joins me as co-owner of our home in recording her opposition as well. Should an event be offered a live streaming, one of us would definitely be able to attend. Unfortunately, we don't offer that. In the limited time I was given to gather limited facts, my concerns are that this single-family home will start being used as a nonprofit school, a bed and breakfast, or such other activities that still may be allowed within the R1-A zoning district will be a concern to the neighbors. Thank you sincerely, Dr. Ahmed Masad. With that said, the only question is, do you tend to use this
No,
property for
I
anything
do
like
not
that?
intend to use it in anything that's noted there.
Okay.
I do have 2 small children, but that does not qualify as a daycare or anything of a sort.
It may feel like it sometimes.
Yeah.
That I know. Like,
Maria Hunter, Woodbury. I've never heard what a seepage tank is. Can someone explain is this something that they're gonna have to dig up their yard and put a tank in the ground, like a rain garden? Is there a different terminology that I'm not used to in the last 6 years?
No, it's a,
So,
I think it's more similar to a dry well, where it goes in and then it slowly seeps
All right,
out.
I know what a
but-
dry well is, okay,
Yeah.
but
I'm not an engineer.
okay, but so that means that this is going to have to be put into the ground. And once this is put into the ground as a dry well, seepage tank, whatever you want to call it, and if it fills with water and it starts draining out, how is that going to affect the rest of the properties with drainage? I know I have a tank, a dry well in front of my house, and we're pretty good with it because we're up on a hill and there's no one around us. But I wasn't sure what a seepage tank referred to and how deep it goes into the ground. Thank you.
That I don't know.
Okay.
Can't weigh in on that.
sure, so I mean, I just did a quick
can you answer?
research.
Go for it.
Well, I'll answer it the best way I can, because I've done it in other properties as well. So, for example, what it does is when, again, it does the job of a dry well, it has to be put in the ground. What happens is the water that normally accumulates on the dirt would actually go into this seepage tank and then slowly dissipate into the municipal tanks. Again, it will leave slowly. It actually helps, like with the accumulation of water in the area. So it's something that works in a positive way, because again, it collects all the water, and instead of the concern of everyone is to actually have too much water and actually get water in the property. So what the seepage tank does is collects this water and alleviates that problem for everyone.
Does it directly tie into the sewer system?
It does not. It actually just, it had its own, kind of its own sewer system.
Okay. So it doesn't tie into the village sewer system?
Correct.
Automatically, it flows into it?
Correct, so it's
like
not-
normal rainwater?
Exactly. So, yeah, so it doesn't affect the municipal system. It's just kind of its own system separate
Okay,
from.
So,
it does refer to it as dry well
yeah,
on,
it's,
yeah.
I couldn't find anything when I looked at it. I was like, I can't find it.
What they do is that they run pipes through the property that collects the water, and then as this collection, it has like its channels right through to the seepage tank directly. So it kind of collects all the water and it goes right into the tanks.
So my concern, so it's my understanding that your neighborhood's on an incline. And if this is
Correct.
not directly going into the village's sewer system, the water has to ostensibly go somewhere.
Exactly.
What is the risk of it going onto nearby properties, flooding streets?
It will not, because again, with the seepage tanks, what it's going to do is going to collect the water there, and then it's just going to dissipate slowly, with time. So, I mean, again, depending on the amount of coverage, that's where the building engineer and our engineer kind of say, okay, what is the right amount of seepage tanks or coverage that we need to put seepage tanks in, or where they need to go in order for that problem not to occur.
Of course. Okay, thank you. I mean,
Any other questions from the board?
Something corrosion is flashing before my eyes.
It's
corrosion to tanks.
the tank. Is cement, so it's not metal.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Please stand up and introduce yourself, sir.
I just have more of a general question on town rules, because this is the first, not
Can you
to-
introduce yourself first, sir?
Oh, sorry, Joseph Geit, Woodbury,
Thank you.
Central Valley.
Thank you.
First, I'm hearing about, or came up about a potential daycare or Airbnb. It's a residential neighborhood. Can anybody just do that? Or does that have to then be approved by the board?
It depends on the use and the specific zone, and also certain uses like a daycare are subject to state licensing. So you'd have to check, I don't know off the top of my head for this particular property what it could be used for. So you'd have to check in the village's code, which is available online.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, normally I have that like right away, but wasn't expecting that question this evening.
All right. Any further comments from the public? All right. Since we do require additional information concerning the breakout of the square footage in the back, I need to keep this public hearing open for at least another month, or until you're able to supply that information. So therefore, can I get a motion and a second to suspend the public hearing until our next meeting,
so moved.
It's July 10th.
July 10th?
Second.
Motion by Rachel, second by Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whenever you have that, if you can send it into the building department, and then they'll distribute it to the board.
We'll get it right away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our agenda for this evening?
We go back to Valley Seafood.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Jumping ahead.
Didn't see the balloon. No,
You see that one? All right. All right, guys, so now we go through the 5 factors. You want to discuss this first, or you want to go through the 5 factors and start off the front?
5 factors, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
First one. Will the granting of this variance produce an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or create a deterrent to nearby properties? The applicant says no. The use is a permanent residential use, and after building on Faulkner are front yard setback. Kind of hard to read.
and other buildings on Falkirk are the front yard setback. I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure what he's trying to say there. Any ideas, thoughts?
I mean, the concern that I brought up earlier about the fact that it is a taller building, it's already on an elevated surface, may cause a disturbance to nearby buildings. But then again, those buildings in themselves are already pretty tall. I think they're 2 or 3 stories across the way.
Any other comments?
On that particular one, no.
I mean, personally, I can't see it make a undesirable change in the character.
No.
That's not the one I have.
That's not the one you have?
I have this one.
We don't have the seafood place.
David, I think we figured out the problem.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, he doesn't usually handwrite his application.
Yeah, I'm about to say, this doesn't look right. All right, I'm sorry. My bad. I must have called up the wrong file. No, the response to that statement was, no, this project will update the property. The renovation of the existing building and improvement of the site will be a benefit nearby properties. Technically, that makes sense. The new building makes it a little nicer.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't look too nice, so I can understand that one. So we could agree to accept that, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, one thing I will say that it is a very different type of building than what's currently there. So,
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's a 2 fingers scroll down.
2 fingers, one,
Yeah.
okay. There we go. Went too far.
It only likes me to do it.
Number 2, can the benefit you seek be achieved by some other feasible method other than a variance? No, the lot of this property is not changing. Technically, he's right. Can't argue
Agree.
that.
Agree.
Mike, no problems?
Nope.
Third, how substantial is the variance that you're requesting? The requested variance is not substantial. The lot falls 3.4% below the required area for the proposed use. 21,000 square feet existing. He wants 22,000 square feet is required. 3%. Is it substantial? Depends upon your opinion. Either way, it's not that great.
yes.
Doesn't stop us from approving it.
No.
No, I agree.
Any other concerns, problems?
No.
Number 4, will the granted this variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental, today's not my day.
Environment.
Environmental.
Environmental, thank you. Conditions of the neighborhood or district. No, the entirety of the existing property is already developed. The project will have no environmental impact, I'm sorry. Technically, I agree with that.
I agree.
If anything, it's going to improve the property. It's going to make it look nicer. Mike, any problems?
No, I agree.
Lastly, is the alleged duplicity self-created? Yes?
Yes.
Adding
Yes,
the,
as always.
just let the applicant finish first. Yes, added the residential use to the existing building is permitted. However, it is also increases the required lot areas needed. He is right. But again, it doesn't prevent us from voting on this.
No.
With that said, any other comments before we just vote on this?
Ought to authorize the drafting of a decision consistent with tonight's discussions.
That's what I was going to go with next.
All right.
Yeah.
If there's no other comments or questions, can I get a motion authorizing the village attorney to draft a decision,
I
as she said earlier?
So
mean,
motion.
Motion by Beverly, seconded by Rachel.
well, I wasn't actually. I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
seconding. I apologize. I wanted
No.
to just say.
Why don't we get a second and then we'll discuss?
Sure. Sorry.
So, second, any seconds?
Second.
Seconded by Michael. Any discussions?
I mean, that's much a discussion, but I mean, just to point out that, it is a historical structure. It is the original train station, it's my understanding. When you go in, the original ticket booth is still in there. That's something that, I just want to, it doesn't impact, really, if anything, our board doesn't have much to do with that, so that's why I don't want to go too in-depth with that, but I did just want to note that just for the record, if appropriate. But, again, communities move forward, and that certainly doesn't prevent this board from doing the same as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
No. In light of what Rachel's concern, I would imagine that the engineers have done their jobs and have tested the surety of the foundation, the ground, the structure of the building, and have blessed it, and we're at this point. So I have no,
That's all in the preview of the, was it a planning department, not
Yes.
us,
Yeah.
planning board, so.
Exactly, so.
With that said, sounds like we, can I get a roll call vote? So Beverly?
I,
Mike?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Aye, therefore pass, so our next meeting we'll sign off on it. Thank you. Without any further, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll let Chris know. But that'll be, so the decision will be on for the July 10th agenda here, and I'll let the planning board know what happens then to get you back over there.
With no other further business before this board, can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Rachel, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.